Hi, this is Professor Kamleya sir here, and welcome you all to our course that is Intellectual Property Rights, in which we are going to discuss today. The name of topic is the Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Right Act 2001. This is almost our last lecture of the course. In this lecture, we'll discuss about important points related to the PPV&FR Act 2001, in which historical background, main features of the act, then rights under act, in which researchers' right is there, farmers' right is there, and last point, that is plant variety protection procedure. Means actually here one word is missing, that is registration for this particularly plant variety protection. That procedure we are going to discuss. So as we discussed earlier, number of forms of IPR are there, in which there is a no or a protection of plant varieties are mainly not there. So for this purpose, here one act is there, that is Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers Right Act, which is one of the important topic with respect to our final theory examination. The question is getting repeated every time in your exams, so be ready for that. The Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers Right Act 2001 was formed in the name itself. We are able to say that 2001, and this particular act is mainly aims for the protection of plant varieties. Okay, and the act was passed on August 9, 2001 by Lok Sabha, which was come in force in 2001. So here in this particular act, it provides establishment of an effective system for protection of plant varieties, then rights of farmers and plant breeders, and to encourage the development of new varieties of plants. Okay, when there is an exposure to the plant breeders or farmers regarding improvement in any crops, is nothing but the formation of new varieties or improvement in previous varieties, is nothing but the encouragement to the development in varieties of the crops with respect to the yield, with respect to the biotic and abiotic resistance against biotic and abiotic stresses. So basically, the Act provides or aims to provide an effective system for protection of plant varieties and rights of farmers and plant breeders. Now here, registration of farmer varieties, extant varieties, and new varieties of such genera and species as notified in official gazette by central government. Okay, so under this act, we are able to we are able to register and particular varieties. Okay, variety should be new. Then there is an extant varieties are also there. And what is meant by these extant varieties, farmers varieties, and new varieties that we'll discuss in detail. So first of all, farmer variety is a variety that has been traditionally cultivated and evolved by farmers or landrace in common knowledge of farmers. Okay, here farmers variety means what? For example, from the a particular region of the state, farmers observed some plants in that particular crop which are having an unique characteristics. They isolated it, multiplied, and again they are using for the sowing, and that particular grains are having unique characteristics, and later on this particular is used by the group of farmers from that region. It can be called as a farmers variety, okay, because it is evolved by the farmers. Its involvement of farmer is there, and some common knowledge about that particular variety is there. So that is farmers variety. This farmers variety can be protected under the act or registered under the act. Secondly, extant varieties. Extant variety is a notified variety or farmers variety that is in public domain. Okay, public domain means it may be in use. It is used for the sowing from some time. This type of varieties can be called as an extant varieties. Extant variety registration will be done if it meets the criteria of. So certain criterias are there when we are trying to register when varieties, in which first one is there, that is novelty. Okay, novelty, from this word novelty itself we know that novelty means new. Okay, new, new means what? In case of our criteria, that is novelty, it requires a variety to be in commercial use for less than 1 year in India or 4 years outside India. Okay, any extant variety is there, as we discussed earlier, it is in use, but not older than 1 year in India. Okay, that is the basic criteria. And secondly, if the variety is from outside of India, it should not be grown, it should not be used for last more than last 4 years if it is from outside of India. Okay, and it is 6 years in case of trees and vines. Means what? If variety is of any crop, then it is for 4 years. But if it is the variety of vines and trees, then it should be less than 6 years. Then only it will get registered. That is novelty. Secondly, distinctiveness. The variety must be distinguishable. Okay, means what? There should be a difference between existing variety and new variety. Okay, there should be an unique characteristic which is not present earlier, or even it is present earlier, there should be difference between the same characteristic. Okay, for example, yield is there, higher yield varieties are there. One is for 120 quintal per hectare, then some other high yielding varieties there which is more than 120. Okay, so for the same characteristics, that is high yielding, again there is a difference. Like that, there should be distinctiveness, then only the variety will get registered. Third one is there, that is uniformity. Uniformity means what? Sometimes varieties are got released by the companies, by farmer, by any other person, any other institution, but there is a problem of variation. And what is meant by this variation? If we are sowing it for the first cycle, and if we are using it for the second cycle, then there will be some difference with respect to the physiological or genotypical characteristics. It may be yield, it may be color of the fruit, it may be sweetness of that particular crop, or any biochemical characteristics, for example protein content, starch content. All these of that variety should be uniform. There should not be any type of variation. Then it can be called as an uniform variety. Then last one is there, that is stability. Stability is again one of the important criteria for the registration of the variety. That is, stability means what? Any newly formed variety is there, which is formed by crossing in between two parents, or it may be developed using biotechnological tools, or some other genes are inserted in the variety. In these cases, there may be chances of unstable seed, okay, which may be show some variation after 2 to 3 cycles, or as per the region changes, it may show some difference among the crop, among the variety itself. That is because of the instability. So stable variety is one of the important characteristics for the registration of the variety. Then essential characteristics. Okay, this stability is mainly for the essential characteristics. Okay, and essential characteristics means what? It is heritable trait that contribute to the principal future performance or value of the plant variety. Okay, for example, we'll take an example of mango, in which Alfonso is there. And as we know, Alfonso is very much popular for its and unique characteristics regarding its taste, also size of the fruit. Okay, so when these valuing characteristics are not stable in that particular variety, then it will not get registered. And this example of mango is Alfonso, which is an value for its taste. Okay, and this is the essential characteristic of that variety. Like this, number of varieties nowadays getting released by the different institutions, different organizations, which are having a particular essential characteristics, and they are very much stable with respect to their essential characteristic, and then only it will get registered. Then any variety that involve any technology, including gene use, restriction and terminator technologies, which is injurious to human being, animals, plant, shall not be registered. Okay, so we are discussing the important features of, or main features of act, that is plant protection of plant varieties and farmers right act 2001, in which if any new variety got released using biotechnological tool in which some genes or terminator technologies are used, and if it is dangerous, harmful to the nature or animals, plants, then it will not get registered, is also one of the important point. Moving on to the next slide. A variety that has been essentially derived from an initial variety can be registered as a new variety. Okay, this is also one of the important point. That is, essentially derived means what? First of all, for example, any variety is there in market or in public domain, which is used earlier from last many years, and using that variety, if somebody is improving the variety or inserting some characteristics, and then the variety got formed is having some unique characteristics as compared to its initial variety, then it can be called as a essentially derived variety. And this type of the essentially derived varieties can also be registered under the act. But here two conditions are there for registration of such varieties. First one is, the breeder of such variety must obtain authorization from breeder of the initial variety. Means whichever parent variety is there or initial variety is there, and developer of that variety, breeder of that variety is there. From that breeder, we have to take an permission to form essentially derived variety from that initial one. And second is there, second condition is there, that is, such variety must be distinguishable from the initial variety. Okay, then only it will get registered, otherwise it will not get registered. Next, the duration of the protection of the varieties will be 15 years for extant varieties, 18 years for varieties of tree and vines, and 15 years for varieties of other crops. Okay, so this is the basic protection duration defined under the act, that is 15 years, 18 years, and again 15 years for the varieties of crops. Next, registration of a variety confers on the breeder of the variety, gives an exclusive right to produce, sell, market, distribute, import, export the variety. Okay, so when the breeder who have formed a new variety, once it got registered, then there is an exclusive right granted as the registration completes, and the breeder is able to produce, sell, market, and distribute or import, export the variety. Okay, all these activities can be done by the breeder once the variety got registered. Next point, provision for researchers' right allows any person to use any registered varieties without paying any royalty to the plant breeders right holder. Okay, if any researcher is there, then he is able to access the varieties which are registered for research purpose, for study purpose, and there is a no royalty for such kind of work. Next important point, under this act, procedure given to claim attributable to seeking the contribution in the evolution of any variety and seeking reward from the gene fund. Okay, for example, as we discussed in the traditional knowledge also, when any community is involved in the uh, evolution of new varieties, in that cases, they are able to claim the distribution or benefits from this new variety to the gene fund. And this gene fund is there, that was established by the central government from earning of benefit sharing of registered variety, compensation deposited in the fund, and contribution from the national and international organizations. Okay, so this national gene fund, which was proposed in this Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers Right Act, and it got established. Okay, it's working now. So this National Gene Fund was formed from the benefit sharing of registered varieties and compensation deposited in the fund and contribution from national and international organizations. Okay, so whenever access to the registered variety happening, at that time some benefit sharing will be distributed to the gene fund, and such type of the funds are called as a national gene fund, and from that national gene fund many activities are carried out of which one is there, that is contribution to these communities which are involved in the evolution of new varieties. Moving on to the next slide. The gene fund shall be used for paying compensation to communities for their contribution to the development of varieties. Okay, as we discussed, a compulsory license may be granted after 3 years of registration of a variety if seed of the variety is not available to public either in adequate quantity or at a reasonable price. Okay, so what happens sometime, any new variety got released and which is having some unique characteristics which is very much beneficial to the farmers, and the demand of the variety got increased sudden. Okay, so in these cases, when this situation comes under after 3 years, in that cases government will give an compulsory license to the third party. Okay, there is an authentication to produce the seeds and sell without any permission or authentication from the main breeder, that is compulsory licensing, which will be given after 3 years only. With before 3 years it is not takes place or not possible. And why it is given, again there are two conditions: whenever the shortage of the variety is there in the public, in or if it is not available at the reasonable price. Next point, the central government need to establish a plant variety registry for registration of plant varieties, which will maintain national register of plant varieties containing names of variety and their breeder. Okay, so this particular registry is maintained by the central government, in which mainly names of the breeder and new varieties which got released and registered are containing. Next important point, breeder required to deposit specified quantities of seed of the registered variety in the National Gene Bank as specified by the PPV&FR Act. Okay, so whenever new variety registration is there, at that time the breeder need to deposit a certain amount of variety, newly newly variety which he is going to apply for the registration. Okay, so there is a sample quantity described by the PPV&FR Act. As per that, the applicant has to follow the rules and regulations regarding deposition of sample. Next important point, once registration made for same will be applicable to parties or states. Okay, so here no parties are there. Basically, as it is an act, it will be applicable to the all the states of India. Okay, wherever whichever state it is getting registered, it is applicable to all the remaining states. Next important point is there, that is rights under PPV&FR Act 2001. Now, what are the different sub rights are there under the PPV&FR Act 2001, in which first one is there, that is researchers right. Now in these two sub rights, that is researcher right and farmers right, again some important points are there. First one is there, that is act provides exclusive right to breeder, successor or agent to produce, sale, import, export of its registered variety. Okay, so this is the right given to the particular researchers or breeders, in which he is able to produce, sell, distribute, whatever he may do. Second important point is there, that is use of others protected variety for research and developing new variety without paying any royalty. Okay, so this is we have discussed in the last slide also, and which is one of the important point with respect to the development and improvement in the varieties. Okay, if there is a no permission or authentication to the researchers, then there will not be development, there not be improvement. So it's one of the important point. Next, for repeated use in commercial purpose, the authorization of breeder will be required. Okay, if somebody is willing to do so, he has to take the permission from the breeder. Then farmers right. Farmers may claim compensation from the breeder if the variety failed to give projected performance. Now here, projected performance means what? In a new variety released by the breeder, there is some standard performance is given. Okay, average standard performance is given. For example, any new variety is there which is giving 90 quintal per hectare yield, then it should meet whatever criteria, whatever standard performance is given by the breeder. If not, then farmers are able to claim the compensation from the breeder. Reward from the National Gene Fund for those farmers who are engaged in conservation of genetic resources. This is also one of the important point, as many genetic resources are converted its form from available to rare. Okay, means what? It's getting distincted from the earth surface or from earth because of the changed climatic conditions, or so many other reasons are also there. So whenever such farmers are there which are engaged in conservation of genetic resources, there will be reward from the gene fund. Then registration of farmers variety. Okay, this is also one of the important right of the farmer, that is the varieties which are formed by or researched by the farmers, that can be registered under the PPV&FR Act. This is also one of the important point. Then last important point is there, that is plant variety protection registration process. Okay, whenever we are looking for the registration or protection of our varieties, there is a standard registration process given under the act, that is plant variety protection registration process. Okay, so here first of all reception is there. In the reception, as we know, the applicant need to submit its application as per the standard protocol, as per the standard format given in the act. And next stage is there after reception, that is PVP application number. Okay, so here around 6 to 7 major stages are there, in which the register application or applicant will complete the process of registration, updating of records, PVP application number, and printing of acknowledgement. Okay, that is the PVP application number. When the applicant has submitted successfully its application, at that time this second stage is there. Then acknowledgement. In the acknowledgement, as we know all, our normal application process is there, and we are getting the acknowledgement. Same here, for applications received through post courier, acknowledgement shall be posted latest by next working day by dispatch section. For application received by hand at headquarter or branch offices before afternoon, acknowledgement can be collected between 5 to 5:30 p.m. Okay, so this is the standard protocol followed under the PPV&FR Act, which is given. Then application transferred to concerned register from that particular region to that headquarter. Examination of application. Okay, so this submitted application need to examine, which is examined by the particular body. Queries raised by the registrar to be issued within 7 days to the applicant for compilers within 15 days. Within next 7 days, the registrar shall examine the reply and if acceptable, ask for depositing reuse testing fee. If fee not received in 15 days, application with seed shall be returned to the applicant. Okay, so here queries, application is checked for the queries. If it's not there, it will get submitted and asked for the sample with the fee. But if some queries are there, it will get returned to the applicant and again asked for the resolution of that queries. And again, for the each stage some days are given, that is the period for that particular queries or process. Then allotment of registration number. If the application is accepted, the registration number of the variety shall be informed to the applicant and published in plant variety journal. Registration number shall be the reference number of the variety. Okay, so after the application accepted, registration number will be given. Then dispatch of seed to the DUS center. DUS is nothing but the distinctiveness, uniformity, and stability. Where these three criteria are got checked, that is the dust center, where the further inspection of the variety is done. Then dust testing will take place. Dust center will test candidate variety as per the DUS guidelines. If at the end of first season it is noted that an essential trait is expressing significant distinctiveness between the locations, then register nominee along with representative of the applicant has to visit the site for consensus decision during second season. Okay, so this all are done at the DUS center regarding distinctiveness and expression of the essential characteristic. Dust testing for EDVs. Okay, EDVs, that is essentially derived varieties or the parents which are used as an initial variety, that is also done for 1 year at two locations. After then data analysis. After dust testing, tabulated and certified pool data from the centers will be submitted to registry by the within 4 months, PL within 4 months after harvest, and final decision within next 15 working days on the candidate variety. And last pre-grant opposition. Okay, pre-grant opposition is one of the important stage when in that published in PVJ for inviting pre-grant opposition. If no pre-grant opposition received within stipulated time as per section 21(2), checklist will be prepared by registry within 2 weeks and registration certificate will be issued to the applicant. Okay, in the our last lectures we have discussed in the patent also. Okay, if no opposition is there, then it will be granted, or if opposition is there, then hearing from both the parties is takes place and then result will be declared. Like that here also the same thing, in which pre-grant opposition is there. If no opposition, then the variety will be registered and certificate will be issued to the particular breeder. Okay, so this is what the process of plant variety protection registration. So we'll stop here today, and almost our syllabus is what completed. So please raise the comments if you have any regarding any topic. We will clear out that also in our next sessions. Thank you.